All right, so let's get to some of the questions. I'm only going to do a few of them today. So all real estate oriented. Next week, Mark is going to be back. He'll be able to join us. Again, he had some family stuff that popped up that absolutely is more important than joining us on this video call. So, all right, we'll get into some of the questions that we're sending for him next week. So here we go. First question, when are home prices going to fall? Not in the near future, based off of everything that we're seeing. I've laid out what we're basically looking at today, right? You can go back to the YouTube channel. You can check out all the videos and see it's all laid out there for you. I don't see housing prices coming down. They've actually been very steadily increasing since November. Record highs are very, very close to them month after month. If you're going to sit on the sideline and you're going to wait for the prices to come down, you're going to miss the boat again. We've had 4%, 5% appreciation from 2019 to 2020. If you would have bought that home, the $1 million home in 2019, would have cost you 5% less. $50,000 less. Pricing isn't coming down in San Diego in the near future. If anything gives off that indication, I'm going to be one of the first people to point that out to you. There's nothing indicating that, guys. Second question, how easy is it to buy a parcel of land and build my own home? All right, so this was a question that I don't know that it was sent in directly for Mark, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my answer as somebody who has worked with buyers in the past and understands how this process works. A lot of people think that they need to head out, find that piece of land. All right, cool. It's 1 acre, it's a half acre, quarter acre, whatever it is, and then they try to figure it out from there. That's skipping the first two steps, which are a whole heck of a lot more important than finding a piece of land. All right, so step number one, if you're looking to build your dream home, you need to have the home designed by an architect. That's going to cost you money out of pocket. I would say that you could buy prefabricated plans online, cost you $500, $1,000, couple $1,000, very inexpensive. But if you want to hire an architect to design your dream home for you, you'll be lucky to get out of that for under 10 to 15 grand. Depending on the size of the house, you're probably looking at $50,000 to $100,000 just to pay the architect to design the plans for you. That can't be financed, ladies and gentlemen. That comes out of your pocket. If you don't know what you're wanting to build, we have a problem. All of this is coming to, can I afford to buy a piece of land and build my own house? A lot of people think that that's less expensive. At the end of the day, it's not, and it takes a lot longer. All right, so step one, have the house designed by an architect. Step number two is going to be, what goes in the house? What's the kitchen going to look like? Are we going quartz? Are we going granite? Are we going marble? What's the flooring look like? What do the fixtures look like? That all has to be laid out. You guys want to know what that's going to cost. So now you're hiring a designer. Can't be financed. You're paying them out of pocket. You're going to need to have a very clear idea of how much is it going to cost to actually build the house. The architect doesn't build it. The architect draws pictures. So you need to talk to a designer to figure out what you want in the house. You have to pay them. And then you're going to have to find out what a builder is going to charge you to actually build the property. That's not super expensive to figure that out, depending on who you're using. But all these steps have to take place in order to determine how much is it even going to cost to build the house. Once we have all that figured out, now we go look for land. Now we go look for land because we know what we want to build. We know what the costs are. That's going to give us our budget to go look for land. So we go look, we find a piece of land. Now comes the hard part. Now you have to go find a lender who's going to make two different loans to you. Number one is going to be buying the land. Number two is going to be a construction loan to actually build the house. And in order to have any chance of getting either of those loans, especially the construction loan, you're going to have to essentially turn into them a business plan. You're going to have to tell them every single thing that you're going to do. You're going to have to list out every single person that you're going to use: the architect, the designer, the contractor, the builder, the plumber, the roofer, all that stuff. All of that. The bank, the lender, is going to vet every single part of that. And if they're not comfortable, no construction loan. So those are your 4 steps. That's the most efficient order to do it in. A lot of people say, well, hold on, Ryan. Location is most important to me. Okay, I understand. So you're willing to have a 1,200 square foot home on a little itty bitty lot that isn't the location you want. We don't need a 4,000 square foot home anymore. Okay, let's say that the size of the house is fluctuated, that it's variable. You know, hey, Ryan, I'd be okay with 1,500 square feet. I'd be okay with 3,000 square feet. Okay, sounds good. If you're going to go out and look at land first, you're going to have to go out and identify a parcel. You're then going to have to bring people out, if it hasn't already been done, to determine, are the utilities already run to it or do we need to? And what's the actual buildable space? Once you've identified that, you're going to have a decent idea about what the property costs, but you still don't know what it's going to cost to actually build the home. That's why we like to go step 1, what does the house look like? What does the architect do? Step number 2, what is the designer and the builder going to charge you? Then let's go find land. It would really suck if you found the ideal piece of land, got all fired up and excited about that, went to an architect and said, hey, I need to design a house. And he said, cool, 45 grand. And you're like, oh, schmackers, how do we finance that? To which he says, you can't, sorry. Back to square one. We'll get more into this next week with Mark, right? But those are the basics. Those are the basics. I talk with a lot of people on a weekly basis that are contemplating doing this. All right. Number 3, why are home prices increasing during the pandemic? In part, supply and demand. The supply is extremely low. The demand is not as crazy high as it has been due to the pandemic, but the demand is still there. That's the easiest, simple answer I can give you. Next one. What's going on with mortgages? I've heard they're hard to get right now. I would refer you back to episode number 1 where we had Andrew Paul on. He's the senior branch manager with Benchmark Mortgage. He talked a little bit about that during that show. But basically, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. 2 types of loan: conforming, non-conforming. Right? These are based off of a county limit. The San Diego County conforming loan limit is approximately $701,000. Anything that is under that, relatively straightforward to get a loan. Anything that is over that now becomes what's called a jumbo loan. Now they start to become a lot more difficult to get, right? A lot of the big branches, the big banks, have absolutely tightened up their requirements to get a jumbo loan. The credit score requirements are higher. The debt to income ratio has to be lower. The percent down is now higher, right? It is absolutely more difficult right now to get a jumbo loan. That's anything over $701,000, all right? Of the 15 to 20 buyers that I mentioned earlier that I have stacked up and ready to go, I'd say about half of them are facing this right now, where they are talking with lenders. They're scrambling to try to make sure that their financing is secure. All right. So if you are looking to buy over that $701,000 price point, talk to your lender, see where you're at. It would really suck if you went out and found the perfect home, called up the lender and said, hey, John, I'm ready to go. And he's like, ooh, sorry, can't give you that loan. That would suck. All right. Let's do 2 more. Next one is, are in-person showings finally taking place again? Yes, they are. They have been taking place. They just have not been as readily available. They have not been as accessible. Sellers are putting up precautions, as it may be, to protect themselves, their family, people coming into their home. All right. So are we seeing them opening up more and more? Yes, we are starting to see that. There still is the car form PEAD, P-E-A-D, that you're going to have to fill out. It's basically acknowledging that you're going into somebody else's house in the middle of a pandemic. That form has to be filled out. Masks, gloves, booties, all that good stuff is being worn. They are far more doable at this point. So if that is something that you have more questions about, hit me up. We can dig more into that with your specific scenario. All right, last question for today. How will you keep me and my family safe if we list the home? All right, that's a great question. Basically, it's going to be the same answer as how we would keep a buyer safe. There are precautions that we can take: face masks, gloves, booties. We minimize the number of people that go into the house. We minimize the number of people that are in the house. That's on the buyer side. On the selling side, we simply enforce that. If you want to come into the house, you have to fill out the car form PEAD, no problem. You have to show us a pre-approval letter. You have to show us proof of funds. There are some properties that we have up in Carmel Valley that if you want to go in it, write an offer. Write a reasonable offer. Then we'll let you in the house, right? So there's a lot of different strategies. And at the end of the day, here's the best answer I would give you. If you're working with me, my team, or the Wanabo group, we're going to make sure that you're protected at all times. That is one of our first and foremost obligations to anybody that we're going to work with. That is largely going to be left up to you and your family to decide what that looks like. If that means that you want them to fill out the car form PEAD, they need to have a pre-approval, proof of funds, and submit an offer before you let them in, we'll make that happen. We have always shot videos, 3D tours, tons of photos, right? Everybody else is finally getting on the bandwagon with that. So if somebody wants to see this property, they're going to have an extremely good idea of what the property looks like before they write an offer. So we're going to keep you safe. We're going to leave it up to you. We're going to give you options. We'll counsel you appropriately. You guys make the decision. And as long as we can make it happen, we will. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it. A little bit shorter today, under an hour for sure. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I definitely appreciate it. If you guys have any questions that pop up as you're going through the week that you would like to have answered next Friday, type them in on the Facebook, send me a direct message, call, text, or email, whatever it may be. Would love to answer any of the questions that you guys have out there. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe and have a good time.